Okay,
Is Jeremy going to get this one?
I believe Jeremy is here on,
I am on the phone.
and so I do know you you need to add to elect a chairperson to the agenda and take care of that. As one of the first things.
So Jeremy, do we want to take care of the chair first?
Should
Yes, I would recommend doing so.
need to open the meeting and do roll call.
So, yeah, I guess I'll volunteer.
There you go.
Okay. So I'll open the meeting of Grant County Digital Board Coalition on Tuesday, June 18th. It's 4 p.m. with John Day Fire Hall. We're online. We have guests here. Chris here, Scott's here, I'm here, Denise is not here. We have 3 out of 4. And first thing would be then I would recommend, I would entertain a motion to add the selection, since we've lost our chair and our vice chair. We had the selection of a chair for purposes of executing this meeting, and then any other business that might follow on from that.
Yeah,
And I don't mind doing it.
yeah, I'll make a motion that we elect, appoint Eric Bush.
I'll second that. Okay, any discussion? No discussion, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, so we've opened roll call, chair. So we don't have anything on here for public comments, but we invite public to comment if you have anything to comment on that's not on the agenda. I know we've got at least a couple of people here from the public. Anything that's not on the agenda that you want to discuss? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move right along to the topic of the day, draft distribution plan. So I'll turn that over to Jeremy.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. In front of you is a draft dissolution plan agreement. It is my understanding that there is interest in moving forward with dissolving Grant County Digital per the terms of the IGA and underlying documents. I have drafted a proposed plan articulating the steps in the process through which Grant County Digital would ultimately wind up its affairs and dissolve. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. In particular, Section 5 deals with a proposed asset distribution process, if you will. I would highlight 5.1 through 5.4, specifically the fiber optic cable under 5.1 running from the John Day Fire Hall to John Day City Hall would be transferred to Grant ESD. In 5.2, the fiber optic cable running from John Day City Hall to the school buildings would again be transferred to Grant ESD. The planned fiber optic cable would be retained by John Day. And again, this is just a draft. This is just a starting point. And then the John Day Cyber Mill property would either be sold and then the assets distributed back to John Day to cover the capital contributions that have been made from the city to date, or we could distribute the building to the city and then the city could sell or otherwise dispose of that particular asset. So that is what is being proposed as of now. If I'm failing to identify any assets, or certainly if you all have a different suggestion or idea as far as how the assets might be distributed, we can discuss that now. That's the purpose of the meeting. I'd point out in section 6, there's contemplation of the agency resolving any outstanding liabilities. It is my understanding that we do not have any long-term liabilities. The only potential liability is arguably the negative fund balance associated with Fund 07 that was in relationship to pull attachment fees in construction.
Right. Yeah, I mean, from the, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, from John Day's perspective, there are no other long-term liabilities. There's no payments or loans or anything on Grant County Digital that I'm aware of. The one thing that's hanging out there that I think we cover pretty well in 5.4 is the disposition of the property, 5.3 as well, 5.3 and 5.4. The EDA grant to build out the fiber optic and the disposition of the building on Main Street, 241 West Main, I believe it's 241. And but as far as a liability goes, the only thing there, if we proceed with the grant, we'll have a $216,000 match that we'll have to somehow find the money for if we move ahead with that particular program. So I'm not sure I would call that a liability from the context of we've signed a document saying that we have, but that's something that the council, I think, probably sequentially after the dissolution is approved, if it's approved by the various bodies, could deal with. Does that make sense? Any comments on that? So Jeremy, I just want to be clear, and I don't see any discussion about the Seneca Cybermill building in here.
And that is intentional because it is my understanding that the Seneca building is actually owned rather by the city and not the ORS 190.
That's true. Okay, what about the other one I just had kind of a question on was the Grant Administration Reserve Fund. So can you just kind of walk through that a little bit, what that means? I didn't really understand that one too well.
What section specifically are you referring to?
I'm sorry.
Section 7. The last clause.
Yeah, so, yep. So to the extent that we have any closeout or ongoing administrative duties and responsibilities, the idea there is that some of the assets, i.e. cash, could in fact be transferred to the city to cover those costs. It is also my understanding that again, we'd have to analyze this and review this, but it is my understanding that the dissolution of Grant County Digital does not result in the termination or expiration of that EDA grant, that we will have some ongoing obligations there.
Right, yeah. Okay, understood. Those are my questions. Any other questions from the audience on this? Or audience from the table?
The liability and the responsibility of Broward to complete work to monument, is that all related to the city building and
Yes.
only in the dissolution of that?
Right.
Not anything that this committee has.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So Jeremy, With regards to, that was a good question Scott asked, the disposition of the agreement for Raleigh to complete the fiber to Monument.
Yes.
Can you just, is there anything you can update us on that or kind of elaborate on how that kind of looking into this?
Yeah. So first, correct me if I'm wrong, but that agreement is between the city and Raleigh, is it not?
It is.
So the status of that situation is that we are providing Raleigh an additional period of 1 year to complete the installation, construction and installation of the facilities. And we are ultimately going to memorialize that in an agreement, a written agreement that would be presented to the council for approval.
Okay. So that's separate and apart from this.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments or questions from the audience?
I just, I
Chantel.
guess have a,
Hey, Chantel, just for the record, for your name, just
Oh.
capture it in the
my name
recording.
is Chantal Bistride, I'm the treasurer for the Grant County Cyber Mill. In section 5.4, the last line references the parties acknowledge that the Seneca Cyber Mill is the city-owned property and not subject to the IGA. And I guess I have an issue with it not being subject to the IGA, as that was not a city project or enterprise, and it wasn't purchased with city revenues. That was purchased with Grant County Digital Funds. And I have here that the John Day City Council at their March 22nd, 2022 meeting passed resolution 22882-03, approving the purchase of certain real property for broadband service delivery. And that's to purchase the Seneca site. And that was after the approval from the Grant County Digital Board on the 15th, I believe. So I guess I just have an issue with that this is somehow being excluded as something that Grant County Digital did.
Okay, so if you back up just a little bit, tell me again the resolution and the dates that you quoted.
March 22nd, 2022,
And what was the resolution?
22-882-03.
Okay. And so the city passed a resolution authorizing the purchase, and I just want to I'm restating what you just said, because I don't have it in front of me,
Yep.
of purchasing the Seneca building for the
Says
purpose
to
of,
purchase the broadband point of presence located at 300 Barnes Avenue. Grant County Digital has been operating out of this site for the past year.
Mhm.
And the site is improved to house the point of presence that is for Grant County Digital's network in Seneca that will serve public agencies, and Oregon Telephone Company's network in Seneca, which will serve the private residents and businesses.
and that was the city of John Day approved that.
Yes, it says the city is currently operating as the fiscal agent for Grant County Digital. The board of directors unanimously approved the purchase of this building as the point of presence and co-location of broadband services in Seneca. It is also hosting the Seneca Cyber Mill. Purchasing this building will allow us to operate from this location over the 20-year service agreement that was supposed to be drafted between Oregon Telephone and Grant County Digital, and would allow the Cyber Mill nonprofit to continue to operate as the tenant.
Okay. So do you have a copy of that 20-year agreement?
Do I have a copy of it?
Yeah.
No, I do not.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't.
I'm
I
sorry,
just
you-
pulled this from the website.
Oh, okay.
I only have access to what's on the website.
Okay, because I guess I'm not familiar with that necessarily. Do you know if it actually got signed?
The 20-year services agreement. with
Yeah, the one you
Oregon.
referenced. In
I
there.
don't know
Okay.
what agreements got signed with
Okay.
Raleigh. I know that they're in there. They share the building with us currently.
Yeah, so there is a lease agreement with Raleigh currently for the point of service.
What's the term on that?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think it's a year to year. I don't know if it's 20 years or not, but there is a lease agreement in place with Raleigh. So obviously that lease agreement, if we dispose of the building, that lease agreement would have to be taken into consideration as a. And Jeremy, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but any lease agreement that's in place when, if City of John Day disposes of a piece of property, that lease agreement has to be taken into consideration as part of the disposition of the property. Is that correct?
That would be our expectation, you bet.
Okay. Are there any other contracts or agreements that anybody is aware of?
I would just like to point out that the Cybermail is a little bit frustrated that we've been working really hard to get a lease agreement. And it feels very much like we are now being excluded from having a voice in the disposition of that property. And as longtime tenants, it definitely just does not feel like we're being included in discussions or being
Yeah.
invited to discussions about a property that has a really big impact on our community and what we do as a nonprofit.
Okay, okay, I appreciate that. You know, I've been working with, I started working with Digit last fall on trying to get a lease signed. I know we've met, and we still don't have a lease signed, and that is a problem, but there is no lease signed. So, unfortunately, because I think that's a problem for all of us, and I agree. I mean, it should have been signed a long time ago.
Yeah, we've come as a nonprofit to the
Yeah.
city. I recognize that's not
Yeah.
true, but no less than 6 times over the last 2 years. So
Mhm.
it feels like it would have been a better show of faith that that's out of our hands. And so now it just feels a little bit like we're being excluded intentionally.
And you haven't had, the Cyber Mills paid no rent in the 2 years you've been in the building, is that correct?
No, we were not supposed to pay rent until
It's just a
like,
question.
operational costs started being incurred, and then the rent was supposed to offset those operational costs.
Gotcha, okay.
And we have offered to pay them and not gotten any lease or invoices in return. We've asked for costs, like a breakdown, we've asked for transaction reports to even just be able to reimburse the city for the costs that they've incurred, and we've not gotten a copy of what costs the city has actually paid for the Seneca site. So unless the expectation was for us to just write a check for a random amount, you know, we tried to in good faith offset the city's expenses there, but again, had various communication over the years.
Okay. Other questions? Any other comments? Jeremy, did you have anything to follow up with on that?
As far as the lease agreement,
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily, just if you have anything that you think is relevant.
well, in relationship to the lease, I would just simply defer to Melissa. I know Melissa's been working with the nonprofit as it relates to the lease. I would tell you from our standpoint or my standpoint, we've been chomping at the bit to get the lease signed, and it's been our understanding that there's been some, we'll say, gentle pushback or reluctance. Not been involved directly with the nonprofit as it relates to the lease, but nevertheless, I would tell you that the city enthusiastically supports getting that lease signed yesterday. So the plan is to circulate a final lease agreement, or I should say recirculate, and put a request in that it be signed within a date and time certain. As it relates to the plan of dissolution, if folks are otherwise comfortable with the plan, I'm of the opinion we need to move forward with its approval, at least at the board level. If the board supports the plan, then it is my opinion that the plan should be routed back to the respective participating agencies, specifically the governing bodies for review and approval.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything else? Okay, I would entertain a motion regarding the recommendation to the respective governing bodies of the members of Grant County Digital Coalition to approve the plan for dissolution. it's a recommendation to those bodies.
I would make that motion that we move forward to those 30 bodies of the members.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Anybody online? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay,
Next steps.
next steps?
Yeah.
So I think probably the next steps are gonna be, obviously, we're gonna go back, there's Jeremy, you'll just kind of go over this and just double check it to make sure you can put together a final copy that'll be then distributed by Melissa to the City of John Day and the 2 other members of the coalition.
That sounds fantastic.
Their respective meeting, okay.
I just
Yeah.
point out,
Is there anything else?
Something.
Go ahead, go ahead.
under section 7, it references a section 5G, but there's not a 5G in the agreement, so I just, before he goes to distribute those, I thought we glanced at that.
5G.
Verified.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Jeremy, is that something you can just take a look at and clean up on the draft?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the comment.
There was a question in section 7, second to last sentence, in accordance with section 5G above, and there doesn't appear to be a 5G. Is that just a typo?
Yeah, it is. I'll correct it. I believe it should have been 4, but either way, I'll clean it up.
Okay. Thank you, Chantel.
But good catch, whomever that comment was from.
That was Chantel. Good job.
Very good.
Anything else? Any other business for the board? All right, well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jerry.